From the Aero Sports Tennessee home office along the banks of the Stones River in the heart of Rutherford County, this is the Coach Will Kriesky Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Kriesky. Now here's your host and play-by-play voice of the Warriors, Chris Bosen.
Well, welcome to Episode 3 of the Coach Will Kriesky Show here on Aero Sports Tennessee. I'm Chris Bosen. I'm your host throughout this 2025 Riverdale Warriors football season for our weekly recap of the Warrior games, complete with highlights, spotlight interviews with players, and most importantly, insight from the man who's now in his 10th season with the Riverdale Warriors. And that's head coach Will Kriesky. And Coach, it is hard for me to believe that this preseason has come and gone as quickly as it has, and here we sit now on the eve of the season opener against Knoxville Catholic. We're going to talk about that today, but first, I want to jump back to the last time we talked was right before the Summit scrimmage.
Yes,
and we have got some highlights today from that scrimmage. It wound up being, unknowns to us at the time, the final scrimmage for you in the preseason. What were your general thoughts on how the team looked against Summit?
Yeah, unfortunately, we did have a situation where we did lose our last scrimmage, but, the Summit scrimmage was good. Our kids played well. Coach Coleman and I have actually worked together all 10 years as I've been a head coach, and he's been a head coach. We actually, Brian Coleman and I were assistants together under Ron Ayla here at Riverdale, and we've become really good friends and colleagues. And, when I have problems, I call him. When he has issues going on, he calls me, and it's another guy to lean on just for advice and different things. And he means a lot to me. But, getting to the scrimmage, I thought our kids played well. I thought they handled situations well. We started off pretty strong. Kind of got a little sluggish as the scrimmage went on. And, I think that's just getting familiarized with everything and getting familiarized with each other. And, again, we corrected that last week and got those issues ironed out. And I really was impressed with our inner squad that we had last week. I think that was really good work for us. But, the receivers and quarterbacks are getting on the same page. The DBs are working together together to all get on the same page, because those are the units that hasn't been playing together long. The fronts, the offensive, defensive fronts have been playing together, so they're more accustomed to each other. But, again, that's what this time of year is for.
Yeah, I thought the team got off to a really fast start. I mean, they jumped out to a big lead. The opening drive was impressive. They went right down the field. You had a nice mix of the passing game, the running game. And then we saw Fuqua cap off that drive with a touchdown. And I thought that was nice to see him out of the backfield get that 1-yard run.
Yeah, Hudson, he could be a two-way starter. He's a phenomenal football player. And, he starts on the defensive side and he comes in and spills it sometimes at running back. And he does a great job. And the thing about Hudson is he knows the game of football. Hudson's been with us since, he's been with me 8 years. So I guess, since he's been 8 or 9 years old, he's been on our sideline. So Hudson knows me, and I'm close to the family with his dad being on our staff.
And then you come right back defensively, and you get the tip drill in action, and Elijah Reams takes it back to the house for 6. The defense has been really impressive to me here in the preseason. Is it typical, do you think, for the defense to be a little bit ahead of the offense in preseason?
Yeah, that's the way it usually is. The defense usually kind of a week or two ahead of the offense. And especially with quarterback and receivers, they have to all get on the same page. And it takes time, and it takes work, and it takes practice, and it takes reps. So the more reps and time they get, they'll get better as the season goes on. And defensively, those guys, I have a old coach of mine that used to be on my staff forever, Bobby Wells, and he always used to tell me, Coach, keep it simple. See ball, get ball. That's all we need to do. So, that's what they do at times, man. They fly around and have some fun.
And last week, we kind of focused on the offense and defensive portions of the game, but your special teams turned up on the next drive after that, and we saw the field goal unit come out. And you've got a long snapper, a holder, and a kicker who put 3 points on the board with a nice 31-yard field goal there.
Yeah, Cooper Dees does well. He's been our long snapper for the past 2 years, and he's doing a great job. And Miles Weaver, our kicker, he also punted for us last year, but now he's stepping in the road to kick for us and do our kickoffs and our extra points and field goals. And he works really hard. He's a phenomenal soccer player, and he's had the opportunity to play overseas a few times in some tournaments and things like that. So he's got a bright future in soccer. We're just fortunate to be able to have him for the fall.
snap, hold, kick is up. It's headed towards the goalpost, and it is good from Miles Weaver. You come back, and one of our highlights of the entire week was, once again, as it was in the first game against Franklin, and that's Jacob Vaughn. He breaks off a big 20-yard run, and that was really our offensive highlight of the week. We're going to take a look at that. Vaughn to the right of Hampton. 3 receivers left. Reynolds, lone receiver on the right side, the short side of the field. Handoff to Vaughn, up the middle, between the tackles. Jukes a tackler at the 10-yard line, still on his feet at the 5, to the goal line. Jacob Vaughn from 20 yards out. His touchdown run puts Riverdale in front. The Warriors now lead 23-0. Extra point is pending. Vaughn showed off the moves there. Power run up the middle, slipped a tackler, and danced into the end zone. Jacob's really come onto the scene for you, Coach, and you said early on he's going to have to deliver. He doesn't have the luxury of sitting back with JV this season.
No, he doesn't, and it's funny. You said JV. We always, that's his initials, JV. So we always been kidding, joking around with him. JV's a Monday night superstar. So, and he's taken those comments to heart. He's worked really hard to get the position he's in, and he's the more he learns, the faster he's able to play. So, he's had a slow start, in the spring and in the summer. But, that now that he's picking everything up, he's playing a lot faster and getting more comfortable. He is a young kid that we expect a lot out of, and he's working hard, and we're proud of his progression so far.
What I notice about him is first contact does not bring him down. I mean, he's able to brush off tackles. He's got some spin moves. He's a tough back to bring down.
Yeah, he is. He is a very tough back and elusive back, and he does a great job when he gets it open field and is able to run the ball and get in space. And, he does. That's what I always talk to him about, yards after contact. And he's doing a good job with that so far.
After you got that big lead, I know that the offense winds up giving up the only points on a penalty in the end zone. And I was joking with my analyst on the game. Do you count that, Coach, against the offense or against the defense when it comes to pitching a shutout in a game?
We're gonna count that against the offense.
I got you. So you got to get the shutout. Points are points.
Yes, yeah, that's right. I know. And Coach Real would have been upset about it, if it was a real game. But yes, it is.
But no, the defense continued to play well. And then you were able to get that second unit some time in that ball game, and that meant your backup quarterback Jake Rolling. He comes in, and for the second scrimmage of the preseason, he leads the team on a touchdown drive, and then comes back and does it again. That's got to feel good because Jake's a different kind of quarterback than your starter Gavin Hampton. He doesn't have the same size and things, but he seems to be operating the offense efficiently.
Yeah, he knows the offense. He's a really smart young man, and he understands the offense. And he did a great job Monday night. We had a JV game Monday night, and we were able to capture a win. He was able to lead and control the offense the entire game. And he studied just as hard as Gavin and worked just as hard as Gavin. And he's going to be ready when his number's called. And he does a good job. And like you said, they're two different types of quarterbacks. But, again, they're able to do some different things and be successful at it.
You get a touchdown run from number 93. I know sometimes in these preseason scrimmages, the kids like to change up jerseys a little bit. So I wasn't even sure if that was truly number 93 that had that touchdown or not.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he's not number 93 on the roster. He's been with us for a little bit now since this summer. And, so we've just been working with him. He's a senior and just wants to be a part of the football team. And he's working hard. And, he ran the ball well Monday also in the JV game.
The final touchdown of the night, Buckingham catches a touchdown from Jake on another tipped pass. And that's just concentration on the part of these receivers to stick with the football.
Yeah, Kalen is another sophomore young receiver. And Kalen has a lot of potential, man. His sky's the limit. We just got to get him to bear down, start grinding, and start working, and just believing in himself. He's a kid that could surprise us by the end of the season. I'm hoping that's the case. And he just got to get in the weight room, work hard, and get in the playbook, study. And he'll have days where he flashes really well, and then he'll have days he struggles. But again, he's a sophomore, so he's just learning. It's nothing bad or negative. It's just part of the growth process of coming through and maturing and going from a freshman to a sophomore.
Rolling throws. It's tipped up in the air, and it's caught at the goal line into the end zone on the tip drill. Riverdale comes away with 6. It might have been Buckingham. It was Buckingham. And so we'll add 6 to the board. Riverdale in front 37-2. And Want to remind folks that if you are interested in becoming a sponsor for the Will Kriesky Show or our Friday night broadcast, you can get in touch with the Quarterback Club. You can get in touch with Coach. You can send an email. A lot of ways that you can get involved with these broadcasts. If you want to be a part of the sponsorship, support the team. There are a lot of expenses when you put this team on. I know I've just been seeing the parents getting together, Coach. They've got to man the concession booths. They've got to man a pregame meal you're going to have Friday night. There are so many opportunities for volunteerism to support these kids when they go out to play, and you need everybody pitching in.
We need all the help we can get. It takes a lot of people to run, a high school football game, and I don't think people realize it. Coach Lindy King, one of our assistant principals, she's doing a good job today to start getting everything organized and make sure everything's ready to go. And our athletic director, Barry Messer, has been working the last few weeks. Also just making sure all the logistics and everything's taken care of, and, making sure the visitors teams accommodations are taken care of. And yeah, it's a lot of moving parts that I don't think a lot of people realize. You need a lot of people to man a high school football game, and you want an environment that's fun and feeling that people enjoy to come to, and that's what these administrators and athletic directors do around here to make sure the environment's good and the kids, the student bodies and the community have a good time.
Yeah, and we're trying to showcase, and we'll do it throughout the year, trying to showcase the band so they get their time in the spotlight, the cheerleaders, the dance teams, just all the different organizations that make high school football and high school athletics so special. And that takes organization, exactly like you said. And we're looking forward to getting this. And there'll be some hiccups on Friday night. It's game one. There'll be some things. We've got the new Jumbotron, a lot of new things. But as the season unfolds, it'll all start running more and more smoothly.
Yeah, well, but I've been very fortunate since I've been here having a good administration and athletic director. Coach Messer's been the only athletic director I've had to deal with since I've been at Riverdale. And so they do a really good job, and they keep a lot of stuff off my plate. And I'm very fortunate that I have him and Coach King to be able to do that because, it's less stress that I got to worry about. And then I have Mr. David Limbaugh in the press box, and he takes care of all that. So, again, I have a lot of people around me that does a whole lot for me to help make our Friday night special and put a lot of stress off of me.
And that's what we're going to talk about next. Is we're going to talk about that coaching staff you've got, because I know you lean on those guys, and I want to talk about some maybe new coaches you've got or coaches in new roles. Let's go through some of that coaching staff. Start offensively with your coordinator, Coach Barnes. I know he's been with you a couple years now, but he leads that offensive side.
Yeah, he does. Coach Barnes does an excellent job. He was a head coach at Saudi Daisy for 9+ years and did a great job building that program and leading that program. And, I just happened to put the advertisement out, but I was looking for offensive coordinator. I had no idea who Justin Barnes was. And he shot me an email back, and I picked up and called somebody out in East Tennessee that I knew. And they were like, "Why are you asking about him?" Because I'm trying to hire him. And I said, "Well, hold on, I'm getting a call. Let me call you back." And so I called him back. I said, "Hey, you need to come in and meet with me tomorrow if you can." And then that's how that story went. And as soon as I met with him, I knew immediately that's the guy I wanted.
And when he came in, I mean, look, he brings a pass-first attitude. Was that your style when you went out to hire him, or was that a new mix for you?
No, that's a brand new mix. I was not like that. My old offensive coordinator calls me and says it's not very nice things to me now because he used to complain how much I didn't like him throwing the ball. And But yes, Coach Barnes has really, really changed my mentality on the offensive side, my philosophy on the offensive side, and I'm 100% behind him and believe in what he does and how he does things, because what he's done has helped change us and elevate our program and help us become more successful.
And then you've got those wide receiver coaches and the offensive line coaches that assist him to get that scheme in place.
Yeah, Coach Pelchat does a great job. Coach Pelchat is probably one of the hardest workers I've been around in a long time, man. He works football 24/7, does a great job. And he's not just a receivers coach, man. He does it all. He does special teams. Anything we deal with, he runs our off-season program, that we work, that helps develop our culture. And, we call it the Warrior Championship Series. And Coach Pelchat does a lot of things for me behind the scene that nobody sees. And he does a lot of things that coaches don't like to do, and he doesn't mind doing it. And I'm very fortunate. Coach Pelchat can be offensive coordinator almost anywhere in the middle of Tennessee, but he chooses to stay here with us. And, he really is bought into what Coach Barnes does. And those two have been really, really fun to watch. And with him is Marquel Odom. Marquel Odom was my starting quarterback and when we started off in 2016. him and Christian C. Font was back and forth at quarterback. But Marquell's been a guy that I've known. I've coached his older two brothers. So I've been knowing Marquell's family since 2009. So he means something. That family means something to me. He means something to me. He's like a son I did. Like he's special. And I'm glad he chose to come back to Riverdale. I'm glad he chose to help the community. He's really good with the kids and really good with receivers. And he really he has a unique story. And I'm proud to see where he's at in life. And he's the first person in his family to graduate from college, and that means a lot to me. And then our offensive line coach, Nick Caramelli. Coach Caramelli's been with us. This is year 2. He came to us from UTC. Coach Melly played at Elon and then transferred to UTC and finished his last 2 years at UTC. And that's how our connection was. I don't know if you realize Coach Barnes and Coach Rail both played at UTC. So that we got a little connection there, and that's how we were able to follow upon Coach Melly. And he's done an excellent job. And what he is really good at is the strength program. I mean, he does a phenomenal job with the offensive line, but I've been highly impressed what he does in the weight room, and how he's gotten us better and stronger and faster of everything he does inside the field house, because he's with those kids 365 days a year, 12 months a year. The strength coach job doesn't just stop after football season. That's where it gets cranked up. And he's in there lifting the freshman group right now, and he brings a lot of energy, and that's what you got to have in a young guy, that type of energy.
Sure. Well, Coach, even the college programs talk about this. Perhaps the most unsung coach on any team is that strength coach, because you have him for 2 or 3 months for games, but he's working with them 9, 10 months in the off season, and that's where you see a lot of growth. Have you seen that growth over these past few off season months?
Yeah, I have. He does a really good job. He also brought some different philosophies in the weight room that it took his guys some studying and learning, and they really had to get me convinced to buy in, and I did though. But that's what I try to do, man. When I hire coaches, I want them to coach. I don't want to micromanage them. And some things that he was doing, it was not what I was accustomed to doing, or not what I believed in. And I've transformed. They did a good job selling it to me, and he's produced results in the weight room, and that's what I like to see. And yeah, he's been working with those guys since we got back from Christmas last January, and I've seen a lot of guys get stronger. I've seen a lot of guys move better, and flexibility is better. He doesn't just do, it's not just weights. We're going to go and lift weights. He does flexibility, core, everything, and then he does speed work. So what he's done has been impressive. Actually, he spent some time with the strength coach at Ravenwood this past off season. Went down to the clinic, studied, and we've adapted some of their things that they do also.
And you got a running backs coach as well. We don't want to leave him out.
Well, we can leave him out. I had a phenomenal guy coaching running backs back in the spring. Preston Barge, he also played for me, and he had to step away due to having a child and just work. He got promoted at work, and so I stepped in and said I wanted to do that spot, and I love it. I love it. I've had more fun coaching this year, and just to being able to have a position and being around those guys in my running back groups is my babies, and I love them, and we work hard. And I told them that we have to be the hardest group out there. We're working the hardest working group out there, because your position goes to the head coach, and we can't slack. So they've done a really good job adapting that and buying in, and I'm really proud of those guys. But also, Coach, we left him out. Coach Peoples, he's a volunteer coach. He comes and helps with the offensive line. He works at Nissan at night shift, so he comes around, and he's our energy guy. So he brings a lot of energy and passion to us during practice and on the sidelines.
Defensively, you've got some new faces or some guys in some new spots over there defensively coaching for you?
Yeah, well, most of them have been kind of in the same spot. Coach Field, he's always helped in the secondary. And Coach Gentry Bond, he also was on the same team as him and Marquell Odom graduated together. So, he's another one that started out with me. And then Coach Bond's is another one that's really means a lot to me. Him and his family mean a whole lot. Coach Bonds was when me and my wife bought our house in 2012. We were out there looking at it, and I saw this family kind of staring at us. Who these young couple coming over here trying to buy a house? And it was Gentry's parents, and then they're probably one of our closest friends. And we him being on staff and being at the school and helping the Riverdale community means a lot to me. And so I'm glad he's back, giving back. And then linebackers, Coach Rail. Coach Rail does the middle linebackers. Coach Rail's our defensive coordinator, and I brag on him all the time and what he does and what he brings, his style of play and his physicality and just toughness he has on the defense. And And Coach Rail's another one, man. He studies all the time, and he's working ways and trying to find ways to improve the defense. And I mean, I can't say enough about those guys and how blessed I am with that. But Coach Haley, he does the outside backers. Coach Haley's been with me also the entire time. He started out as our athletic trainer. And was our athletic trainer, and they did that for years. And then, now he has a little girl, Claire, and so he wanted to step away from the athletic training side, because they're 12 months a year with sports. And he just said, my wife's gonna give me this time of year that I can coach and be around you. Would you have me? And I was like, yes, sir. And he's just like Coach Pelchat. He does a lot of jobs that nobody wants to do. He's sorting game pants right now and jerseys to make sure we get it out to the kids. And, he's also another one that's dove into our weight room and our process of getting stronger. And he's right there with Millie right on his side. And Coach Haley does a great job not just trying to work his position, but trying to help the whole program, whether it's the weight room, our speed. He taught me into buying the Titan vest this year. And we use that. And he's a data guy, and he studies that. And he's really helped me change some philosophies in practice, how I do practice, how I lift weights, and how we do our running in season, our speed stuff during season. And, these guys are always studying, man. And it really helps me evolve as a head coach. Because they're always bringing new ideas to my table. I tell them, you can have all the ideas you want, bring them to my table and convince me. And if you can convince me, I'll change my ways. And they've done that. Coach Haley's been digging at me for 3 years now to try to change some things. And last year I slowly started to buy in, and then we sat down and talked in the off season, and he showed the numbers. Being a data guy, he showed numbers to prove why his way was being successful. And so now I kind of dive into his speed stuff 100% because I believe in what he does, and he showed me results. We had, I'm talking about the Titan vest. We had a kid that was running about a mile and a half slower than he has been. And he brought it to my attention. He said, why is he doing that? So I called the kid in and talked to him. Well, he had an issue with a knee that he wasn't getting looked at. So that helped me figure out why. And then Coach Haley brought me in showing guys that were running 2 miles or a mile and a half faster than they were in the summer now during fall camp. And that's because of the training and stuff that he's showed me along the way with the Titan, the speed stuff that he's studied throughout all the off season.
And you got some special teams coaches as well as some freshman coaches. I know the freshmen got off to a nice start with a victory.
Yeah. So I did skip the D-line. Coach Martin and Coach Fuqua have been doing the defensive line for quite a few years. They've been with me for a long time. Like I said, Coach Fuqua has been with me for a long time. He's an elementary school teacher and has been here, I think, since 2017 or 18. And, he's helped us. He's great, got a lot of knowledge, experience, had a successful coaching career in Georgia. And we were very fortunate to get him. And then Coach Martin's been with us for 7 years now, and he does a great job helping. And they all work really well with Coach Rail. And then, like you said, the special teams guys, Coach Armand, Khalil Armand was our kicker last year and did a phenomenal job. And Coach Armand's just been part of our staff, and, he loves being around kickers. And, I'm fortunate enough that he has a young kid, another son that's a freshman this year. So, they do a great job. He does a great job working with those guys. And, and he's the one that helps me recruit soccer kids. I think he's the head soccer coach. So, it's always good to have him on staff and help get kickers out there.
Before we dive in to talk about Knox Catholic here and kind of preview them, I want to look at the last kind of list of new things. We've talked about a lot of new. We've talked about new players, new coaches, new additions, the new lighting, the new Jumbotron. TSSAA has made some new changes this year. We know, of course, about the one-time transfer rule that has come into play a little bit. They have changed some classifications. They've put you in a new region that we've discussed, and we'll follow that throughout the year. That also means some new playoff pairings, and we'll dig into that as the season goes on and as we get into those region games. But what about on-field rules, Coach? Any new rules or points of emphasis that fans and players need to be aware of this season?
Yeah, they have changed. There is a couple rules they have changed, and it's I've been studying up on it, and I've gotten a couple of different answers. It's the fumble rule. You can't advance the ball if you fumble it forward, then you have to go back to where you fumbled it. So that rule. I had a crew during one of our scrimmages explain it to me. So it's kind of confusing. I don't want to go over the rule and then tell it the wrong way, and then I have Kid Melton and his crew call me and tell me I explained it wrong. But that is the biggest new rule, just when you fumble the ball and where the ball will be placed after you fumble. Pretty much, you can't fumble it forward.
As we turn our attention quickly to Knoxville Catholic, Coach, this is a team that comes in with some very highly recruited players, some of the best talent in the state of Tennessee. Coach Shadowins is familiar, of course, with Middle Tennessee, coming from Smyrna. He's won state championships. It'll be nice to have him here with his team, but that's going to be quite a challenge on Friday night.
Yeah, they're doing a good job this offseason, and getting players, and they're very talented. Coach Owens is a very well-respected football coach in this area and did a great job for many years at Smyrna and won 2 state championships while he was at Smyrna. So, he's going to have his team ready. His team's going to be ready to play. He knows the land of lay. He's coached, like I said, in this county for a long time, so he's played at Riverdale, and he knows. Like he called me, I guess, a few weeks ago talking about their travel itinerary and stuff, and he's like, hey, well, I'm still dressing here, right? This is where I dress. And so he knows. He's been to Riverdale. It's not going to be anything new to him because he knows the situation and knows, where you dress for halftime, where you come out. But it will be all new for his players. But, yeah, they are very talented. They're very big up front, physical up front. They do a good job. Their O-line coach does a great job with their front. They get off the ball. They attack you. You use your hands well. And, it's going to be very, very, very tough challenge for those guys up front.
And the guys that we look at in their secondary and on the offensive side, that's Tyreek King. He's a UT commitment, one of the top players in the state. Senior, had 14 touchdowns a season ago. And then his cousin, I believe, Chaston Smith, transfers in after being injured some last year down at McCallie. And now he's coming in, and he's considered the number 25 cornerback in the country. So those two guys are going to provide, I guess, a particular test for your passing game.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. They're going to be physical, and they're going to run. I mean, they can fly. Those two cats can run. So, we have to do a good job, and we have to make plays. And, we have to try to do things to eliminate them making plays. But, yeah, those two guys are very special. I think that Tyreek is a 5-star. So, if you're rated a 5-star, you're a pretty good little football player. So, but that's the type of players that we need to see to get ready for the region. We need to see this type of speed and this type of game. We need this type of game to start the season with because, there's not an easy game in our region.
Interestingly enough, this is the first meeting between Knoxville Catholic and Riverdale. How does this game come to be when you know that the region is changing and you've got those and now you've got to plug in a few games? How did it come to the table?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't enjoy this season, this scheduling period. They started it earlier, it felt like, than it was, or maybe I don't know, the timing was just off. Everybody was scheduling and working on their scheduling during the playoffs, and I didn't really finalize it or get things done till after we were put out. I kind of put some things off. I worked on it a little bit, didn't work on it a little bit, and tried to find games, tried not to find games, and it just so happened, the week of Thanksgiving, I saw that they had an opening. I texted Coach Owens, and we just started talking. And I don't think that he wanted to take his team and travel too far, and he couldn't find any games. And we just both thought it would be a good matchup for both schools.
Well, it should be an exciting matchup for the fans as well. Like you said, Coach, you're going to watch definite D1 players on both sides, both for Knoxville Catholic and for Riverdale. Guys are going to play in college, and that should make for a fun Friday night. How are you health-wise?
We do have some guys that have got a little beat up, little bumps and bruises coming out of fall camp, but nobody that will totally miss a game or anything. I did have a younger kid or backup. Did get an ACL. Jonathan Turner is having ACL surgery. He's a senior, but he is having surgery today. So our thoughts and prayers with him. But Jonathan's been a great kid for our program, just a program kid, and it was just an unfortunate incident that he took running the ball against Summit, and he's a great kid. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and it's just a bad situation. But other than that, we just have the normal bumps, ice treatment, things like that you go through a long, grueling fall camp.
And look, the heat has been brutal this week. It's finally supposed to break a little bit. But when you look at these roster sizes, your roster is about 40 guys larger. They play a lot of guys two ways. That could play a role Friday night.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully our depth can help us. It's positive, and they do. Our roster is bigger than theirs. And so, we hope to use that in our advantage. So we'll see.
It's like I said, Coach, it's hard to believe preseason's over. Regular season is here. This 10 weeks of the regular season is going to fly by. Once that ball gets kicked on Friday night, it's nonstop. We'll be here every week, though, with highlights after the games. We're looking forward to that. And, Coach, on a personal note, I want to wish your son a little belated birthday. You got a teenager in the house now. Life has changed.
Yes, it has. It has. And, unfortunately, last night I messed up. We last 20 minutes of practice, and we got soaking wet. And so I changed clothes at school, and then when I got home, I threw my wet clothes in the washer, and I left my pen in my shorts. So I ruined his brand new Nike sweatshirt my dad bought him for his birthday. So I'll have to hightail it out here today and go find him a new sweatshirt.
Well, Coach, on a busy week and in a busy time, I want to thank you for taking time to do these shows. Look, I think it's an advantage for fans that are wanting to get to know the Warriors better, but I know it takes time out of your day, so thank you very much for being a part of it.
I'd like to just say one thing just to the Warrior community and Warrior family. We lost a beloved Warrior Saturday, Mr. Gary Smith. Mr. Gary Smith's been at Riverdale for 20-plus years as a teacher, educator, and he's just been around. And Mr. Smith, I knew his son in 2009. His son was a basketball player here, and I've known that family for many years. And Mr. Gary, man, he talked Riverdale football nonstop. We just were talking Riverdale football last week, and he was excited for the season and looking forward to the season. And it's been a tough week for a lot of teachers around here because Mr. Smith's been part of our life for 20+ years. And man, he bled, that red and gold. And he was an Oakland grad too, and he came over here and worked, and he bought into the Riverdale community. And I don't know of a football game he's missed since I've been a head coach or even an assistant coach. But he's been around and his family's been around. So just please keep, him and his family, his son and his grandson in your thoughts and your prayers. Because, boy, he was showing me videos of his grandson's playing little junior Warriors right now. So, but, it's been tough for Miss Blair and the administration and all the staff and the special ed department because that's where he spent his 20 years.
Well, and Coach, for the Smith family, for everyone, part of the beauty of Friday night football is that it brings a community together, gives us a chance to come out, take our mind off of those things, be together, and enjoy the purity of high school athletics for a few hours. And that's what we're going to do Friday night against Knoxville Catholic.
Yes, we are. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For Coach Will Kriesky, I'm Chris Bosen. Warrior fans, remember, be proud, be bold, be brave, and ever loyal. We'll talk to you next week here on The Will Kriesky Show. Good night.
This is the Coach Will Kriesky Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Kriesky. This is Riverdale football. All hail.